Hello. It is currently like 9 p.m. I would normally be getting ready for bed at this time. My hair is slung above my head like a crazy person. I am sat in the middle of my living room. But I wanted to start a new YouTube series, podcast, chit chat, whatever you want to call it, called Fitness Without Filters. So the idea behind this, I literally just had this idea, hence why I'm doing it looking like this, with the most literally ghetto setup ever. Like my camera, you guys, you don't even want to see what my camera is right now. But the idea behind this was partly for me because I find that this style of just talking and venting to nobody really, not really caring whether anybody's listening or not, is so good for my mental health. But also because I was thinking that I'm a 22-year-old girl. I live on my own, in a city that's not where my parents died, where I grew up. And I'm just trying to navigate life. And some of it will be related to fitness, some of it won't. But I think that we see so much filtered stuff on the internet at the moment. And I do think there's a massive push towards being a little bit more raw and real. But I wanted to do some proper, raw, uncut, just straight from my heart chit chat, girly chit chat about the gym, about life, about navigating, being a single girl in my young, early 20s, just trying to figure out life really, working, all of this, I graduated uni last year. I've done just about a year and a half of my first year of just full-time work, and all these experiences that I'm having and that I'm making, I think when I'm going through them, particularly not bad experiences, but more learning curve experiences, I will overthink myself into a hole where I think that this is a unique experience. And really most of the stuff that I go through, somebody else is probably going through similar things as well. And I think it just does help for us to talk about them, to help us realise we're not alone in the struggles that we have. All of this stuff is so normal and natural, growing pains, of, navigating your young adult life. And then I think with fitness, a whole nother aspect and complication comes into it because, I could go into a whole nother woman about this, but, there's no research on, relatively, there is nothing on female fitness at all. And so, a lot of it for us girls who are in the gym, fitness is a big part of our lives. We're figuring it out for ourselves. It's not something that we're being told. A lot of this stuff that we're being told, we're trying it, we're figuring it out. And actually, the research is done on men, and it's not even relevant to us, half of it. So it's what actually applies to us, what doesn't. We're trying to work it out ourselves, and that can be really difficult too. So yeah. And on that note, I'm going to try and keep this video as raw and uncut as I possibly can. I'm going to try not to do any fancy edits. Not that I can do that anyway, I can't edit for saving my life. But I'm going to try not to cut it, and, it's just going to be raw, unfiltered. What comes into my mind will come out my mouth, will be on the camera. That being said, first things first, I do not have enough storage on my iPhone or on my laptop or my camera SD card to do an entire chit chat video without cutting and chopping, so there will be a little bit of that, but yeah. So yeah, I'm making this video, I've been rotting in bed today, I'm extremely hungover, I've got hangxiety galore, and so that I thought would be a very potent first topic to discuss. Alcohol. Because for me, we all have completely different experiences with alcohol, but I think sometimes we have similar things. So for me, I've always had a bit of a strange relationship with alcohol. From when I was a kid, I wouldn't ever be able to casually go out and have a couple drinks. I would drink and I'm drunk. And that is how it's always been. And for a long, long time, when you're a kid, that's normal to an extent. It's so normalised. And I wanted to unpack whether we think that's a good thing or not. And I think obviously, first and foremost, the key to everything is moderation, isn't it really? And also, it's not a one-size-fits-all at all, is another thing. What's best for me is not going to necessarily be what's best for everyone else. But yeah, so I just wanted to be completely raw and honest and just say what I feel. So yeah, I've always had a fairly strained relationship with alcohol. Going back, as I said, like when I first started drinking 15, 16, getting drunk in a field, that type of vibe. And I would completely black out. And still to this day, like, I don't ever really, like, I mean, I grew up in a household where it was normal to have a glass of wine with dinner, but like not often. You know, the environment that I was raised in, like, I never saw anybody really drunk, and like everybody was very like healthy with it in moderation. So I was exposed to alcohol for a long time, but not in a negative sense. And so I then started to drink and figure it out for myself and have my own experiences with it. And I just really, really struggle to know my limits. Like, I will have one, and then I'd say if I have more than 2 or 3, I'm gonna be drinking all night and be wasted. And I've always had it a little bit, but it's definitely worsened as I've got older. Because I think to an extent it's normalised when you're a kid, you know, you've only just started drinking, you can't try and get to grips with it. And then as you get a little bit older, it kind of, most people have figured out their limits, they know where they are with drinking. That's not to say that people don't let their hair down and go crazy sometimes. But most people, or a lot of people, it's just less normalised, isn't it, to go out and just get absolutely blinded all the time. But for me, I really, really struggled to establish that limit. And like, if I was going out, I was known to be a liability. Like, I was known that I was going to lose things, or I was going to cry, or I was going to do this, or I was going to do that. And just being silly. Like, I've never been nasty, never hurt anybody, nothing like that. But it's just being silly and embarrassing myself. And like, my friends, like, I love them to bits. They're amazing, they're saints. They've never judged me in that sense. But I say to myself, and like, as well, it's vice versa. Like, if my friends, or anybody really, goes and, you know, has a bit too much to drink, I'm not there judging them and thinking, God, what an awful person. But when it comes to yourself, I mean, we just have it as humans, don't we? We overanalyze things, we overthink things. Like, we always put that bit more pressure on ourselves than we do on other people, and I think that's just very natural. We all do that. But for me, I really, really suffered when I drank with hangxiety. And then I went through like a bit of a personal thing. I was going through a breakup a few months ago, and like, on my part, like, the things I was doing when I was drunk were partly like responsible for that. And like, I don't want to say in my defense, but like, actually, to my, you know, whatever, I knew that, and I was self-aware of that. Like, it's one of those things that, as I said, I've been really struggling with it, like, where it's like, I didn't know how to control it. But like, the reason why I think it ties into fitness is because I am such a creature of habit, and I think like that discipline in my day-to-day life comes from the discipline required for fitness. And I think like, it's so easy, it's much easier for, if you're like disciplined in the gym, to then apply that into other areas of your life. So then like, my diet, I'm conscious of, like, 80% of the time I'm eating whole foods, high protein, you know, trying to get in my fibre, trying to have good gut health, all of that. And then I'm getting up early, I'm doing work, I'm trying to be successful in life, and like, I'm doing all these things, I work really hard and all of this stuff. And then I think I would have a drink, and I'd think, that goes so against, like, I'm being, you know, I'm letting myself down. And that goes so against all of what I stand for usually. And so that's why I think partly as well that it would really, really upset me, because I feel like I live my life, and I hold myself to a set of standards, and I felt like that was letting myself down. You know, so I was struggling a little bit. I'm going to go off on so many tangents here, guys. I was really struggling mentally, and it came through in my work, and I really, really didn't like that. And that was partly actually to do with my personal life and what was going on, but also like the drinking, and I knew it wasn't making me happy. And one of my clients gave me a set of books, and one of them was about self-esteem. Forgive me, I've forgotten the name of it, but it's written by a guy called Nathaniel Brandon, and it's amazing. And it was saying, and it's basically like talking about self-esteem and the foundations of self-esteem and blah, blah, blah. And one of the points that it made was about the reason why we lack self-esteem sometimes is because we will have a set of principles that make us who we are as a person. And I hold myself to a set of principles, and by going out and drinking, and I felt like embarrassing myself and stuff, I was actually not holding myself accountable to one of those principles that I'd set me to myself to. And so my self-esteem was really lacking because of it. And I read it at such a perfect time. It made so much sense, and it's one of those things when you read it and you're like, oh my goodness, that explains so much. So that actually led me to then cut out drinking completely, and I did that for about 2 or 3 months. And my experience with that was so, like, I completely let go of like the FOMO aspect, you know, like I'm so lucky that the people that I have around me, like my friends, my family, are very, very like understanding, but it can be really, really difficult to say to people you're not drinking. Like, I'm also quite lucky in that like a couple of my friends are Muslim, so they have never drank, and like, you know, I'm not surrounded by people who are always drinking. I just want to say as well in all of this that like drinking is not a bad thing. That is not the point that I'm trying to make it at all. I'm just saying, just explaining my experience with it and like the way that it was negatively impacting me, but it doesn't necessarily impact everybody that way. I'm not explaining myself. Anyway, so yeah, the point was that like my friends that do drink are super understanding. They never would judge me or question me. And I'm also so open with my friends that I would be honest with them and say, look, I'm really, really struggling mentally as a cause of this, like, so I'm not drinking. I would actually still go out and enjoy myself and have fun. I feel like that's something you guys don't really see much of me. Like, I do actually have a life outside of the gym. I'm a PT, I work in the gym, I spend most of my time, my free time in the gym. Like, that's, oh my god, there's so many points coming to my mind that I just want to look. Anyway, so yeah, so I would still go out to events and things and like whatnot, and yeah, as I said, a couple of my friends are Muslim, they've never drank in their life. A couple of my, like, you know, we all have our own things, don't we, like all of our own reasons and stuff, and so like it was quite easy for me to just say, look, I'm not going to drink, and it really helped for a few months. I also have a really, really good friend of mine, and we always talk about this type of thing, who was also going for a similar thing, and so we would talk about that, and like helped me to feel like I wasn't alone. And she'd stopped drinking, and we kind of both came to like a realization at a similar time that we were like, whilst this is so, so good, and we felt like so good in ourselves and so much less anxious and stuff, like without the anxiety, we didn't want to be unnecessarily restrictive on ourselves. I mean, so like what I mean by that is like, there are certain situations, like for example, not too long ago I was at one of my friend's parents' birthdays, and we were doing a cheers, and like in situations like that where I'm going to have one drink, like why am I restricting myself, you know, from missing out on like a social thing, like a nice not bonding, you know what I mean, a nice thing like that. And then like recently I've also just come back from a cruise with my family, and it was incredible, and like we would be sat on a bar, a sunset bar, and it was just the most amazing experience ever. And I would think to myself like, why would I want in this situation to restrict myself by saying no, I'm not going to have a drink, when actually like having one cocktail sat on a bar like in the middle of the Med is just beautiful. Like, I don't want to miss out on experiences like that. So I've been toying around recently with like reintroducing it into my life, and I've been trying to do it in like a much more balanced way. And for the most part, or like, you know, maybe 50-50, I've got that balance right, and there's been some really, really amazing times where I've gone out and I've had a couple drinks, and then I've said, I've had enough now, that's it. Like, you know, because of my routine and my discipline day to day, because of fitness, I go to bed super early, I go to bed at the same time each night. So, you know, it means that like I'm going like staying in that part of my routine, and that makes me wake up and feel really, really good, because I don't wake up with a hangover. But I know I wasn't restricting myself, and I went out and I still had fun with my friends, but you know, like I know my boundaries and I'm sticking to my boundaries, and I'm going, okay, this was really lovely and it's nothing personal, but this is now enough, and like I don't need another drink, like, you know, like that. However, there was times last night, hence this appearance, where I don't get the balance right, and I'm really, really struggling to accept it. But I'm trying to tell myself, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this, is like, it's actually okay to not get things right. Like, you don't always need to, like, you know, you don't need to, there's so much, particularly with TikTok and whatnot, like there's so much on social media, like hustle culture, and like that we need to be, you know, getting up at 5 in the morning every day and eating clean all the time, doing this and doing all of that and looking amazing all the time, and actually it's not attainable. And like, if you're like, the thing with fitness is like, we're trying to implement small lifelong changes. They need to be sustainable, and that's why like we always bang on in the fitness industry about like not making drastic changes and whatnot, it's actually okay to like fall at hurdles, struggle with things. It's not always easy. Like, it's not, you know, things can be difficult. And so like what I've been trying to talk to myself nicely and tell myself, actually, like, I mean, I will overthink myself into a hole, into a literal pit, and it makes me not want to leave my house, and it makes me want to, you know, like curl the ball and just disappear. But I'm really, really trying to tell myself, and like what you guys did, like, get from this as well is like, it's okay to make mistakes. We're not perfect. Like, you know, I know there's been times when like I'll go out with my friends and like one of my friends will have too much to drink and like we'll have a laugh about it, and it's really funny, and I don't love them any less because of it. Like, I'm not judging them. So I'm trying to say to myself, like, actually, like, people want the best for me as well. Like, if people ask you questions and, you know, poke fun at it, it's all a bit of a laugh, and like, don't take it too seriously. Like, you really, like, I try not to take myself too seriously in most of life, but with this I really, really struggle. Like, I will just, yeah. But like, it's actually all a bit of fun. Like, we only have one life, and like, if you make mistakes, that's okay. Like, we're not perfect. Like, none of us are perfect. We're all like perfectly imperfect, flawed individuals. Hashtag Tumblr quote, you know. So like, this is just something that I've been struggling with. I found it difficult, and I wanted to share that online with you guys because I just think that it's so important not to, yeah, as I said, like, not to always put a filter on things. I don't look amazing all of the time. I don't, you know, I'm not on top of my habits all of the time. I'm trying, and that's the main thing. Like, we're not perfect individuals, and it's not like easy all the time. So yeah, I'm definitely paying for it today. I've got a banging headache, but like, I've been really, really, really struggling. And like, I'm not putting this on the internet for everybody to pity me and, you know, make comments, because like, number one, although I appreciate you guys to the moon and back, this is probably gonna get 2 views anyway. Yeah, although like, yeah, I appreciate you guys. It's like, it was actually like, this is a way for me to vent my feelings, like, and just speak, and it's a way that really helps me to process things and understand things and figure things out. Like, as I said, I'm a young woman living in a different city, just trying to figure out life and trying to figure out fitness and being a PT and being an online coach and making content, and I'm trying to figure all that stuff out. And like, there is stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you guys don't see and that you might be experiencing too. And like, you watch this and think, oh, I feel seen now, I feel understood. Like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows all of the time, and like, that's actually okay. And like, also, yeah, so as I said, for me, it helps me. Hopefully it helps one of you guys. You might be going through a similar thing. So yeah, I just really wanted to share that, and like, hopefully the aim of this little new like podcast series that I'm gonna do, as I said, is just to be as like raw and uncut and heartfelt as I can be, because I don't think we see enough of that online, and like, not even just in an emotional sense, raw and uncut, like with the videos. Like, I'm not gonna go all fancy editing with the videos and stuff, and like, sometimes it is just gonna be me sat in my living room hungover with my hair shoved up on top of my head, and like, that's actually okay. So yeah, this is my comeback to YouTube. I don't know when I'm gonna upload this, if I ever am gonna upload this. Yeah, hopefully you guys will be seeing more stuff like this. I really do want to try with YouTube. I really don't like editing, I'll be honest with you guys. I really don't like editing. I find it boring. So like, particularly long videos, I'm not good at it. I've never grown up watching much YouTube. So I don't really consume a lot of things digitally. I just like to read books, to be honest with you guys, and listen to music. But I'm gonna try, and I've been wanting to make a podcast for ages because I feel like I have a lot of conversations with my friends as well that are so, because of the people that I surround myself with, like, you know, they're all kind of like-minded like me, like that we, you know, we like fitness, but we're trying to balance life as well. And like, I have a lot of conversations that I think, damn, we should really make a podcast right now, you know what I mean? Like, so now I'm just trying to think, like, what, I'm limiting myself by not sharing stuff like this with you guys, because it's like, why not just do it? If nobody watches it and it gets 100 dislikes, so be it, or at least I tried, you know. So yeah, a little bit of a different style from me. I may try and, you know, make a comeback to YouTube with like more tutorials for calisthenics and stuff, but in the meantime, this is what I want to do, like talk to you guys more and show you guys a little bit of like actually the real me, what's going on, like me figuring out life raw, uncut. So yeah, you guys, clearly I'm delusional, like, let me know if you like this style of content, you guys, because I'm so down to make more of it. Hopefully maybe one day in the future I'm going to speak this into existence, that like I'll be able to get my friends on, people that I love on, people that inspire me on, different people, so we can have share different opinions and, you know, hear different stories and just talk, because what is life like?